Welcome back to another instalment of Legacy Limelight. Today we're discussing building a legacy team with Anish, Head of Legacies at the British Red Cross. Thanks so much for coming in and speaking with us today. Hope you're well.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. Thanks for the invite.
We know you're passionate about legacies and the impact that they can have. What drives that?
It's just a really incredible way of people being able to support their favourite charities. I think I'm quite a spiritual person in many ways, and I think the link to legacy giving and the fact that it's supporting organisations, causes, trying to make the world a better place when you're no longer here, and doing that thinking and that sort of deep soul searching whilst you're alive to understand who you want to benefit and the causes. I just think it's a really incredible way of supporting, but also a way of leaving your legacy as a person and your imprint on humanity. So I just think it's a really incredible space to work, a really special and considered way of supporting charities. And I feel really privileged to be part of that, to be honest.
What kind of role did you start in? Where did you start?
I guess to caveat it, I'm in Legacies by fluke, if I'm totally honest. And many people who know me and a bit about my background know I actually trained as a professional dancer. So my career is in the arts and dance, which is why being on mic right now is actually not too scary.
That's great.
But yeah, I started off as a performer, and I did that for many years, touring with shows and doing dancing, puppetry and stuff, but also complemented that career by doing some arts management stuff and sitting on a box office and reception.
Nice.
That career was fantastic, but it was quite hard to sustain, if I'm really honest. Getting the jobs was hard enough, and then sustaining a lifestyle to be able to stay in London was challenging. So I came to a bit of a crossroads and decided I needed to have something a bit more stable, but I also wanted to explore and give my time to something that meant something to many other people. So I tried a couple of different careers that didn't quite wash out. And then I realised that, I wanted to give back, and the charity sector seemed like a pretty good place to cut my teeth and learn some stuff. So my auntie was a volunteer at Cancer Research UK shop, and she let me know about this internship that they run. So as I mentioned, I'd done a bit of arts management and stuff, but I didn't really have the formal skills. I'd never really written a CV, to be honest, or attended a proper interview, because in the dance world, it was mainly showing what my body could do rather than actually being able to communicate that. So I felt like I needed to get a bit of that experience under my belt. But I'm also not really a studier too much. I like to learn on the job. So the idea of an internship really, really did speak to me.
Yeah.
So I applied for the events internship. So that's working on their mass participation events. But I wasn't successful in interviewing for that. And I kind of went through clearing. So a bit like if anyone went to uni and didn't get their first choice, there was a pool of people that had potential for any of the roles that weren't taken. And luckily for me, no one had taken the Legacy Events internship at Cancer Research UK. So the team there got in contact with me and said, look, we know you've applied for an events internship. These events are slightly different, but we'd be interested in interviewing you. And I thought, yeah, great. It says events. Let's do it. So I came down to London for the interview. Wonderful interview, really great team, and they sold the events to me. The role was to manage the guest list for 3 of their big Christmas events. So I love Christmas, I love events, and working for Cancer Research UK, the biggest charity in the UK, is pretty awesome. So yeah, that was it. That was the start. I did the internship, and then that's where my career started. I do feel extremely lucky, and also, the reason I've stayed in Legacies as well throughout Cancer Research UK and then onto the BHF and now at Red Cross is that I've been able to work with some incredible people. And like I said before, I like to learn on the job, and I've had that opportunity, and that's kind of why I've wanted to stay in Legacies, because it's so varied, the whole legacy fundraising. area. You can pick up so many skills and be able to do lots of different things.
Absolutely. I imagine the messaging across all the charities that you worked at has been completely different, and the avenues to the audiences are completely different. So I guess exciting in each role. It's completely changing whenever you move around.
Yeah, absolutely. Also working with two big health charities, they've got similar causal areas, so similar supporter stories as well, which is really, really easy to work with because it's people's personal stories. And then shifting now into the sort of humanitarian aid causal area is quite different, but still people's reasons to support is really inspiring.
Have you got anything in your sights that you think is going to be interesting or useful over the next year?
I think there's a lot of stuff bubbling away in the legacy sector. There's still many charities just building their programs or considering building their programs. So the sort of maturity within the sector is quite vast and varied. And so that's really exciting as well as we invite more charities to explore legacy fundraising for themselves. And us as bigger charities and working with organisations like Remember a Charity to help support the sector and charities to get their programmes up and running, and just generally share the news that you can support a charity with a gift in your will. I think there's a lot of scope there. And also with new charities come new ideas and new ways to inspire audiences. So it's always exciting to hear what other charities are doing. I think for me, something that's really key and that I really want to explore this year at the Red Cross is looking at how we generate and how we celebrate those more high value donations that come through gifts and wills, and just understand a bit more as to why people leave us those gifts and how we can explore building stronger, more engaged relationships with people who have the ability to leave those more transformational gifts to us. I mean, it's not to say every gift to the Red Cross is extremely important, and so we're hugely grateful for any gift that we get, but we do know that there are audiences and people that will support us who have the ability to leave us those bigger legacy gifts to us. And it could be that they want more engagement from us. It could be that they don't want more engagement for us. So I think that's what's really exciting for us. And I know ourselves and many organisations in the sector are looking into that space, and that's partly what happens within legacy teams, but it's also how we collaborate across our organisations as well. So working with your philanthropy teams, working with your relationship fundraising teams, it's a really exciting time.
Is there any kind of exciting projects happening at British Red Cross right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are just about to launch our new creative mass marketing campaign. So that's across various channels. So lucky enough at Red Cross to be able to use TV and video on demand and press and then digital channels for us to be able to promote legacy gifts to the Red Cross and support our supporters in getting their will written as well, using the partners that we partner with at the Red Cross. So that campaign, we collaborated with our colleagues in the brand team and our fundraising teams as well to create some new creative that will run across all those media channels to really tell the story of what Red Cross is, who we are, what we do, and why gifts and wills are so important to us for us to be able to be on the ground and responding to emergencies right now. And that was a real unique project in getting those three teams together whilst working with loads of other stakeholders across the Red Cross and a fantastic creative agency as well who we collaborated with. And it's a really new direction for us at Legacies and how we talk about our work and how we try and generate that interest. So that's going live as of next month. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the results and how that inspires, and to see how it might develop new audiences for us as well in talking about legacies and gifts and wills to the Red Cross.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. Is there anything that kind of sparked the idea about changing the messaging or changing what you were talking about in your fundraising?
Yeah, there was a couple of reasons for the change. I guess one was that we had been using a creative idea that we'd been using for a couple of years now. And although that creative idea worked well, we do know that there does come tire if you use it. And we have quite set campaigns for our mass work. So we were aware that it was probably a good time to refresh. At the same time, as an organisation, we're refreshing how we talk about Red Cross and really investing in our brand as well. We're very, very, very well known for our work in emergencies. So as soon as there's an emergency, we're often on TV. But what we found it difficult to do is to be relevant and front of mind when there wasn't an emergency on TV or in the news or in the press. So the brand team have worked really hard over the last year or so to create our brand USP and then our campaigns that fall out of that. And then we saw that we have an opportunity now to level up and sort of collaborate more with our brand messaging to amplify the message of who we are and also then generate more interest and understanding of the Red Cross's role in being the world's emergency responders, and using that as a hook to generate more interest in terms of legacy giving and inspiring people that, you know, by leaving a gift to us, they're also becoming part of the world's emergency responders as well. So it was a really unique opportunity for us to collaborate with them as well. And then the fundraising team also were doing something in the similar space as well in terms of collaborating with brand. So what we've tried to do across the three areas is to create a world or a story in which all of these adverts or creative executions can be part of the same world, so that from a supporter or a viewer's point of view, they really understand who we are and what we're here for. And hopefully we'll see through our results that we're gaining more interest and a deeper understanding of the Red Cross.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds really exciting being able to bring together all of those different departments. And I imagine lots of people kind of watching or listening to this will think, God, it must be really difficult to manage all of that across the business. I think that is there a kind of story that you could tell or an idea that you can give how people can bridge those gaps, bring everybody together, maybe including trustees and things like that, to bring them along the journey, bring them into the idea of investing in legacies more?
Yeah, sure. I think, I'm in a really unique position here at the Red Cross because I get to work with the marketing and development side of it. So that's the mass communications. I get to work with our fantastic regional team as well of community legacy managers. So they're the individuals that represent Red Cross legacies on the ground in their regions. So they put on events and do stewardship activities. But I also look after and work with the legacy income team. So they're the team that do the administration of the wills. So I get a breadth or a broad view of legacies at Red Cross and the stories that come out of that from past legacies that have left to us and learning about legators and their reasons for supporting us. And then using those stories, when we're allowed, to share how important the Red Cross has been to them as individuals, is a really good way of us being able to start that story of how legacy shows almost like the ultimate connection with a charity. So as I mentioned, the new TV advert, actually the story of that has come out of a legator story for us. So someone who supported us with a gift in their will because their parent had volunteered with us for so many years. So it's about bringing those real life stories of legators to life. Now, in terms of like inspiring the rest of an organisation, again, when it comes to legacies, because it's often quite a big amount of money, it's often seen as like often the money part is as far as it goes in terms of what is seen. And I think what's really important for me in this leadership space at Red Cross is to humanise that income and humanise where that support and trust has come from our legators, but also humanise the elements that go into making that and generating that support. So through our marketing, through those stewardship journeys, and through the best practice of administration, it really helps to show that, you know, Legacies is a really broad but really considered, a really relational type of fundraising, and so, you know, any any way that you can kind of connect back to the person that left that gift, I think is a really good way in to then communicate to the rest of the organisation to help you get buy-in, all the way from trustees who see the figures, saying, well, that came from this supporter who supported us because they've had this many touch points with the organisation.
Yes. It would be good to hear as well the impact that the legacy income stream has on the British Red Cross. Obviously, it's a big charity that most people will know about. How much does it make up? Kind of how important is it to the charity?
Income at the Red Cross accounts for about 25% of our fundraised income, which when you think about we're a specialist emergency response organisation, we're often putting out appeals when the biggest crises are happening across the world. That's a huge amount of income to help us to respond to those emergencies. So it's incredibly important to the organisation. It's also a funding stream that has been fairly stable across the years. We luckily have seen growth in our income over the past few years, which is fantastic. And through the work that we do in generating more legacy interest and building the stronger connections and the stories, hopefully then we'll be able to generate more income in the future. So yeah, it's an incredibly important part of our fundraising mix of where people can support us. And I think that's seen right through the charity. The organisation sees Legacies as what we call as a sort of a destination product. So not that should be the final product that our supporters take, but that it is one of the key products that a supporter can do to help us to operate and help those in crisis. So, you know, even having that narrative and that understanding of the importance right across the organisation really does help us in being able to advocate for the work that we do and talk about why it's important for us to do, say, marketing campaigns which shares that to the wider public.
Yeah. You could boil something down into kind of 3 top tips for a new legacy person. What would be your top tips for them?
Okay. One tip would be to learn about the legacies that have come before. So who were they? What was their motivations to leaving a gift to you? Just so you get an understanding of who your supportership could be. Another tip would be to learn who your allies are within the organisation. So learn who is engaged and understand legacies, who also will help you to champion the message and the importance, and be able to work together as well on projects, because often legacy teams can be quite small and sometimes you're going to need help from others. So find who those people are that are interested. I think another one is to grow your networks. I think, you know, things like this, the Limelight series, and other networking opportunities and events and webinars, I think they're all incredible ways of learning about what the sector is doing and feeling a bit more connected as well to what you're doing and learning from others. I know, again, like I said, some legacy teams are one-person bands, so it can be quite lonely. So reach out to the sector, find who your peers are. One of the reasons I've stayed in Legacies for so long and probably will be here forever is because it's such a warm and collaborative sector of fundraising to be in. And I think that a key thing for me would be to try and find your peers within your area and start building those networks.
I think following the same vein, thinking about a new role, first thing that you would do when you got a new job. Not saying that you're leaving British Cross just yet, but what would you do?
For me, it's about first thing I would do, and I guess the first thing I did when I started this job a year ago was to learn who my team are. So learn who are the people that work within Legacies, and learn what they enjoy about the job and what the challenging bits are. Mm-hmm. I think that will really bring to life the areas that you need to step into. So I say that as a leader. I guess if I was in a slightly different role, maybe delivering some of the programs, I would see what's gone before and look at the evaluations and reviews and see what information we have on what we've done before and the reasons why we made that. So do we have data and insight into the people that we talk to and why we've made some of the creative decisions in that way. And also try and find out what connections and peers we have within the organisation that can support us as well.
So you talked about the kind of importance of analysis and looking at data that the charity holds internally. I think if we could focus on that a little bit more, I think that might be quite useful. Kind of if you can imagine what type of data analysis you would do in that position. Let's say that the data is quite good in this charity.
Sure.
What would be your first kind of step in terms of analysis of the data?
So if you're lucky enough to have solid data already, I think trying to find what the similarities are between the people that have engaged with your work before. So on our database, we're able to measure people's legacy journey with the charity. So we try and match that information based on, say, maybe where they live or how long they've been a part of our organisation or what communications they've had from us. So that's really useful to build a picture of who your legacy prospects are or pledges are. And so you can try and find lookalike audiences or learn what communications and interactions had worked in the past, and maybe that gives you a starting place to build future. I think it's also good to look outwards as well of the organisation. So we work with people like Legacy Foresight and with Smee and Ford in trying to collate further data about ourselves within the sector as well, to give us a more broader, more wider view of who we are and where we are and how we're engaging with people around the idea of legacies. And that helps us to sometimes back up some of the decisions that we make internally when we get that data from outside the organisation as well. And data and insight is, depending on your organisation, can be easy or hard to collate. There's plenty of resources out there that give you the headline facts as well. So all of those sort of top line facts are really, really important, and you could easily available to help you build your strategies.
Definitely. Thanks so much for coming in and engaging with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.